Hello, and in this video covering the key studies for OCR A2 psychology, we're going to talk about Johansson et al. 1978, and they measured stress in the workplace and kind of what causes stress and how you can measure stress in a combined way using physiological measures and self-report measures. So, this is obviously for the health and clinical module of the options in applied psychology OCR exam paper. Now, as I always say in these videos don't apply to everyone. Obviously, a lot of people in my audience aren't studying OCR A-level psychology, and a lot of you probably won't even be interested in the psychology, but these videos are for anyone to watch, and hopefully when it comes down to exam time, they'll help some people out. It helps me to remember and understand it all by having to talk about it. I think that's one of the best ways to understand. If you've got to talk about it, you get to understand better. So that's why I'm doing these videos, and today we're going to talk about stress in the workplace. So so the disclaimer I always like to throw out there when I do these videos is I'm not doing this health and clinical module in class. I'm actually doing crime and sport, so that means I'm not getting any support on it in class. I'm learning it all by myself. So if there's any mistakes in what I've learned or what I tell you, then sorry, you're at your own risk. I've got some notes over this direction, my left, your right, that I'm gonna glance over as we go through this and talk about, and then we'll finish with some evaluation points. So the pretty standard structure that we always go through, really. So what Johansson did was they measured they measured stress physiologically and in self-report in 24 people who worked at a Swedish sawmill. There were 14 high-risk people, or at least were judged to be high risk by the researchers of developing stress, and that is because they were responsible for their job. Their sort of tidying up the wood. Their job was had a bearing on how everybody else got paid, not just them but everybody else. So a very stressful job, machine intensive, and sort of labour intensive, and they were compared with a group of cleaners who were judged to be sort of lower risk and less likely to develop stress. So, what did they do? Well, each participant had a urine sample taken four times a day. Once when they arrived at work, and 3 other times throughout the day. Now that was to gain a physiological measure of two hormones, adrenaline and non-adrenaline. Now we'll talk about the results of that later, but that's what that was, and it was done four times throughout the day, and that's significant, as we'll talk about later. So, and then also I said this is a combined approach, so it was physiology and self-reports. So they also asked participants to rate themselves on a series of rating scales throughout the day on things like stress, productivity, efficiency, irritability, aspects like that. And obviously those are the rating scale themselves were quantitative, but those are qualitative type things that were measured. So let's talk about the results. We've got two measures there: physiology with the amounts of adrenaline in the urine being measured, and we've also got psychometric tests, self-report, rating scales for emotional responses like stress, irritability, aspects like that. So what were the results? Well, predictably the 14 high risk group of workers who were responsible for everybody else's wages were responsible for the labour kind of stressful intensive work. They were more stressed and had more higher levels of stress hormones than those in the who were cleaners and kind of had a more menial job. So that's pretty obvious. And also I forgot to mention in the procedure they measured each participant's level of stress hormone when they were at home, sort of relaxing, so they could get a baseline of comparison. So the high risk workers were both higher in adrenaline and non-adrenaline. They were higher on work days than on rest days, and also says they were higher than the control group. The records that were kept afterwards, the stress workers showed a significantly higher level of stress-related illness. So the 14 workers in the high risk group than the 10 cleaners showed a high level of stress-related illness. And on the self-report measures, they rated themselves as more irritated and more kind of less productive and lower well-being than the control group. It's important to know that also on the measures throughout the day, measures of those two hormones, adrenaline and non-adrenaline, also increase throughout the day. So that's important to know. So obviously they concluded that if you have a lot of stresses in your work life, it can make you more unhealthy and can physiologically arouse you more, so you produce more stress hormones. And in terms of usefulness, which we'll talk about in a minute, that can be it can be useful because if you want your workers to have less time off ill, then you give them a nice kind of paced work and not overdo it. And that also links nicely to what we talked about last time, Gia and Maisel, where they showed that having a higher level of control having a high level of control reduces your skin contractions and that suggests that you're less stressed. That's Gia and Maisel, but it links nicely with this, so I thought I would mention it. Evaluation. Okay, well, and I keep forgetting to mention stuff, but they were also asked to keep a record of their caffeine and alcohol intake. Sorry, nicotine and caffeine, not alcohol. Nicotine and caffeine. So, what are some evaluation issues with that? Well, we've obviously got ethnocentrism issues. They all work for a Swedish sawmill, so in Sweden things might not be representative of how they are here, or how we do psychology here might not be representative of the rest of the world. So that means you've got lower generalizability. You can't generalize your results to as many cultures. The issue of reductionism is quite significant here. There could have been other factors other than their work that make them stressed throughout the day. If you're thinking about your family and there's something going on in your family life, that could make it more difficult to concentrate, and you might show more physiological signs of stress, but it might not be to do with your work, it might just be to do with your family life. It could be, conceivably, that all the people in the experimental group had family problems, and all the people in the control low risk group didn't have family problems. That's unlikely, but it's possible. So you can't draw definite cause and effect. We've got causation. So we've got ethnocentrism, sort of reliability problems, reductionism,
17 hours.
And ecological validity wouldn't really be an issue here, because the experiment is not manipulating any variables. We might have some problems with social desirability if people think they're gonna get less stressful work if they answer that they're really stressed on this survey. That might make them want to answer that they're not really stressed. But in terms of social desirability, you can't really influence the physiological measures, so we'd have to say that's not really an issue there. And in terms of situational versus dispositional arguments, there you definitely have to say that constitutes a situational argument. The situation that people are in is influencing their behaviour. So if you're placed in a stressful situation, you'll produce more stress hormones. So there's a few evaluation issues for you as well as the study, because you'll need those. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. My website address is down below. TomDesRoger.com. There's a bunch of interesting stuff on there. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Bye guys.